Well, America is in a full-blown constitutional crisis, with Donald Trump handing the reins of the U.S. government over to billionaire Elon Musk. To date, they plan to wind down USAID, the Department of Education, and the Consumer Financial Protection Board. Well, how is he doing this? Trump has designated Musk a special government employee, and as such, he should adhere to the same standards that apply to federal employees. According to the New York Times, Musk is widely seen as operating with a level of autonomy that almost no one can control. Musk has burrowed deep into federal agencies that are pivotal to running the federal government. According to Wired magazine, Musk has deployed a gaggle of teens and barely adult men who have taken control of the Office of Personnel Management and General Services Administration, and have gained access to the Treasury Department's payment system, potentially allowing him and them access to a vast range of sensitive information about tens of millions of citizens, businesses, and more. They identified 6 young men, all apparently between the ages of 19 and 24, according to public databases, their online presences, and other records, and found that they have little to no government experience and are now playing critical roles. That leads me to the elephant in the room. How is any of this legal? Alex Wagner is back with me, and joining me now is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who just came back from the Treasury Department, where she and other Democrats protested what they said was the illegal takeover of Treasury payments by Musk and his associates. Congresswoman, I will just ask you that question. How is any of this legal?
Well, first of all, it's good to be with y'all under terrible circumstances. I'd say that it's not legal, and we know that the legal challenges are already starting to work their way through court. So big shout out to those federal government employees that are standing up for themselves and not just going quietly into the night, but instead those unions that have decided that they are going to push back and fight for the American people. What is frustrating to me, though, is that we do have a segment of this country that is like, oh, this is great. I think that's my biggest issue, because I don't think that this should be about partisanship. Yet for whatever reason, it seems like only the Democrats care, and only Democrats care about getting on top of other Democrats, instead of calling out Republicans and saying this is a matter of right versus wrong. This is a matter of a democratic republic. Instead, they're just like, well, what are the Democrats doing? Well, we fought like we could on November 5th. And unfortunately, he controls every lever of government. And along with controlling every lever, he obviously has a good hold on their spines as well, because I've yet to see a Republican spine stand up.
Perhaps people may not understand that when you say they're going to zero out foreign aid, people go, good. They don't know what that is and how much it is. But there's a law that says that federal agencies cannot disclose an individual's private information from a set of government records without the written consent of the person. I wonder if people care about this. DOJ staffers have gained access, despite that law, to federal student loan data, which includes personal information for millions of borrowers. They might have access to the payment system for Social Security, Medicare. They may not care if quote unquote DOJ slashes government, but they may care if they can turn off their payments.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of government, right? I mean, this is the reality. I think people don't understand how large of a role government plays in general in your everyday lives. But what is most concerning is that people don't understand that the power of the purse lies with Congress. And that is for a reason, so that we can't have one person having so much control that they can just say what's going to happen with all your tax dollars. Instead, it has to go through 435 people in the House, 100 people in the Senate, and then make it to the president's desk. And what we have is someone who, it's not even Donald Trump who's trying to do it. He's got Elon Musk over here trying to do it. And honestly, the role of the Treasury is just to follow the law. They are not there to be discretionary about what it is that they're doing. If we say this is how much somebody is supposed to get for their Social Security, then they are just supposed to make sure that they effectuate that payment. But right now, when they're saying, oh, we're finding all this waste, we're going to cut it out. Listen, you need to come holler at us in Congress then, because if we end up passing it through appropriations, which there is a question about whether or not we will get there, as we know that our next deadline is approaching on March 14th. And I fully anticipate that the government is going to shut down, because that is what Donald Trump likes to do. The last time we had a government shutdown, it was under Donald Trump. The only time that the longest shutdown we ever had was under Donald Trump. So you can't just go in and say, well, I don't want to pay this bill, so I'm going to just cut it off. I know that that's how he operates. I know that's why he ended up filing filing bankruptcy at least 6 times. I get that he doesn't pay his bills, but that is no way to run the United States of America.
Alex, you've been talking with employees that are facing this right now. What are you hearing? And you were at Treasury or in USAID?
I was both.
You were at both.
I'm everywhere, all at once.
¿Por qué no los dos?
First of all, I should just say, outside of that Treasury Department this evening, it was a crowd of I'm not an expert, but it felt like almost 1,000 people. Yeah. And there's been a lot of question about what the resistance might look like in Trump 2.0. And this felt like maybe the beginning of that. There is a real miscalculation I think Trump has done by having Elon Musk as his co-president. The narrative is quite clear. An ultra-wealthy billionaire and his 19-year-old lackeys are in there gutting the federal government and at the expense of everyday working class Americans who have no idea what will become of basic things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The federal bureaucracy touches a lot of people in this country, and just gutting it without any plan for day two. People may not be alarmed by this in the immediate, but
sure.
I hesitate to think that this does not have repercussions that are vast for the American electorate.
If you think about things like food stamps and those kind of anti-poverty programs, they actually are used more in red states than blue states, and by these Republican-run states. You talked to a lot of Trump voters during the campaign. Do you think that this is what they were voting for?
Do I think they wanted American occupation of Gaza, the gutting of the federal government with absolutely no plan,
and also
how it was going to run
in Greenland, and a war in Panama and Canada and Mexico?
No, I think this is someone who feels like he can operate without consequences. The reality is, whatever the blowback is for him politically, he's a lame duck president, and America continues onwards, right? The project continues. And when you gut the very machinery that helps run this country, things happen. I mean, the idea that all of this can happen without consequences and it's just a woke leftist mob. People understand when things are broken down and don't work. And I think that is, and I will also say the terror that he is inflicting on hundreds of thousands, if not millions of federal workers, that emotional terror is resonant with normal, everyday Americans. This is not what they bargained for.